This is the Sakar Murli of the 6th of June 2024. Essence: Sweet children, the Father is the master of the garden. You gardeners have to bring very good fragrant flowers to that master of the garden. Do not bring wilted flowers. Question: On which children does the Father's vision fall, and on whom does it not fall? Answer: The Father is pleased to see the flowers that give a good fragrance, and those who do the service of changing many thorns into flowers. The Father's vision falls on them. The Father's vision does not fall on those who have a dirty attitude and those whose eyes are deceitful. The Father says, Children, become flowers and make many others into flowers, because only then will you be called clever gardeners. Om Shanti. The Father, the master of the garden, sits here and looks at his flowers, because at the centres there are flowers and gardeners. Here you come to the master of the garden to give your own fragrance. You are flowers. You know, and the Father also knows, that the seed of the jungle of thorns is Ravan. In fact, the seed of the whole tree is only one. But there must definitely be someone who changes the garden of flowers into the jungle of thorns. That one is Ravan. So now judge whether the things that the Father explains are correct. The Father is the seed of the flower garden of deities. You are now becoming deities. Each one of you knows what type of flower you are. The master of the garden comes to look at the flowers here too. All the rest are gardeners. There are many types of gardeners. There are also many varieties of gardener in those gardens, the physical gardens. Some are paid 500 rupees, some 1,000 rupees, and some 2,000 rupees. For example, the gardener of the Mughal garden must be very clever. His salary would be very high. This is an unlimited garden, and there are many types of gardener, number-wise. The very good gardeners must make their gardens very beautiful. They plant very good flowers. The Mughal garden of the government house is very beautiful. This is an unlimited garden, and there is the one master of the garden. The seed of the jungle of thorns is Ravan, and the seed of the garden of flowers is Shiv Baba. You receive your inheritance from the Father. You do not receive an inheritance from Ravan. It is as though he curses you. When you are cursed, you all remember the one who bestows happiness on you, because he is the bestower of happiness, the one who gives constant happiness. There are many varieties of gardener. The master of the garden comes to see his gardeners, and to see whether they are making small or big gardens. He also keeps in mind which type of flower they are. Sometimes very good gardeners come here. The flowers they bring are often a very good decoration. So the master of the garden becomes pleased. Oh, this gardener is very good. He has brought very good flowers. That is the unlimited Father, and these are his unlimited matters. You children understand in your hearts that what Baba tells you is the absolute truth. For half a cycle there is the kingdom of Ravan. It is Ravan who makes the garden of flowers into a jungle of thorns. There is nothing but thorns in this jungle. They cause a great deal of sorrow. There are no thorns mixed in the garden. There is not even a single one. You children know that Ravan makes you body conscious. The biggest thorn of all is body consciousness. Papa also explained last night that the vision of some is lustful and the vision of others is semi-lustful. There are some new ones who come and they follow this path very well at first, and they believe that they will never indulge in lust and that they will remain pure. At that time they have distastes similar to the distaste one experiences at a cremation ground. However, when they go back home, they become bad. Their vision becomes dirty. You consider many to be very good flowers and bring them here to the master of the garden and say, Baba, this one is a very good flower. Some gardeners come here and whisper in Baba's ear that this one is such and such a flower. A gardener will definitely tell his master of the garden. It is not that Baba knows the secrets of each one's heart. You gardeners tell Baba about each one's behaviour. Baba, that one's vision is not good. That one's behaviour is not royal. That one's vision has reformed by 10 to 20%. The eyes are the main things that deceive you the most. You gardeners come and tell the master of the garden everything. Baba asks each one of you, tell me, what type of flowers have you brought? Some are roses, some are jasmine, whereas others bring uck flowers. They remain very cautious here, but when they go back into the jungle, they wilt. Baba sees what type of flower each one is. Maya is such that she slaps the gardeners very hard, so that even the gardeners become thorns. When the master of the garden comes, he first looks at the garden. Then he sits and decorates the flowers. He says, children, remain cautious. Continue to remove your weaknesses. Otherwise you will have to repent a great deal. Baba has come to make you into Lakshmi and Narayan. Why should we become servants instead? Each of you has to check yourself. Am I becoming elevated and worthy? You know that Ravan is the seed of the jungle, and that Rama is the seed of the garden of flowers. The Father sits here and explains all of these things to you. Baba still praises the education at those schools. That education is also good, because you receive a source of income through that. And there is also an aim and objective. This too is a school, and you also have an aim and objective. At no other places do they have an aim or objective. You have the one aim of changing from an ordinary human into Narayan. On the path of devotion, people listen a great deal to the story of becoming a true Narayan. They invite a Brahmin priest once a month to relate the Gita to them. Nowadays, everyone relates the Gita. None of them are true Brahmins. Only you are true Brahmins, children of the true Father. You relate the true story. There is the story of the true Narayan, the story of immortality, and the story of the third eye. God speaks, I make you into kings of kings. Those people have been relating the Gita, but who became a king? Is there anyone who can say that he will make you into a king of kings, and that he himself will not become that? Have you ever heard this before? There is only the one Father who sits here and explains this to you children. You children know that you come here to the Master of the Garden in order to be refreshed. You become gardeners as well as flowers. You definitely have to become gardeners. There are many types of gardeners. If you don't do service, how would you become a good flower? Each one of you should ask your heart what type of flower you are, and what type of gardeners you are. You children have to churn the ocean of knowledge. You teachers know that there are various types of gardener. Some good gardeners whose gardens are very good and big also come here. If a gardener is good, he also creates a very good garden. He brings such good flowers that the heart becomes pleased on seeing them. Some even bring cheap flowers. The Master of the Garden understands what status they will claim. There is now still some time left. It takes effort to change each thorn into a flower. Some don't even want to change into a flower. They prefer to remain a thorn. Their attitude, shown by their eyes, remains very dirty. Even when they come here, they have no fragrance in them. The Master of the Garden prefers to have flowers in front of him. When he sees them, he becomes very pleased. When he sees that someone's attitude is bad, he does not even look at that one. This is why he examines each of you to see what type of flower you are. How much fragrance do you give? Have you changed from a thorn into a flower or not? Each one of you can understand for yourself to what extent you have become a flower, and whether you make effort. Some repeatedly say, Baba, I forget you, I cannot stay in yoga. So how can you become a flower if you don't have remembrance? Remember Baba and your sins will be cut away, and you will become a flower, and will also be able to make others into flowers. Only then would you be called a gardener. Baba continues to ask for gardeners. Is anyone here a gardener? Why can't you become a gardener? You have to let go of your bondages. You should have the inner strength and enthusiasm for doing service. You have to make effort to free your wings. Would you leave the person whom you love a great deal? How can you claim a high status unless you become a flower and do the Father's service of making others into flowers? The high status you claim is for 21 births. There are emperors, kings, and even wealthy subjects. Then, number-wise, there are less wealthy ones and subjects. Now, what should you become? Whatever you become from the efforts you make now, you will become that every cycle. You now have to make effort with full force. You have to become Narayan from an ordinary human. Those who are good effort makers will put everything into practice. You have to check your profit and loss account every day. It is not a matter of doing this every 12 months. You have to check your profit and loss accounts every day. You must not make a loss. Otherwise you will become third class. In schools too, all are number-wise. You very sweet children know that the seed is the lord of the tree, and that when he comes, we experience the omens of Jupiter. Then, when the kingdom of Ravan comes, we experience the omens of Rahu. One is the highest, and the other is the lowest. The temple of Shiva completely changes into a brothel. There are now the omens of Jupiter over you children. At first the tree is new, and then after half its lifespan it begins to get old. There is the master of the garden, and then the number of gardeners also increases. You bring them to the master of the garden. Every gardener brings flowers. Some bring such good flowers that they are desperate to come to Baba. Some daughters find clever ways to come. Baba says you have brought very good flowers. The gardener is second class, and the flowers are better than the gardener. They are desperate to come to Shiv Baba, the one who makes them into the elevated masters of the world. Even if they are beaten at home, they ask Shiv Baba to protect them. They are called true Draupadis. Whatever happened in the past has to repeat. Yesterday you were calling out, and today Baba has come and is showing you ways in which you can protect yourself. Buzz the knowledge in this way. You are the buzzing moths, and they are the insects. Continue to buzz this knowledge to them. Tell them that God says, lust is your greatest enemy. By conquering it, you will become the masters of the world. Sometimes the words of innocent ones strike them, so that they cool down and say, "Okay, you have permission to go. You may go to the one who makes you into such deities. It is not in my fortune, but you may go." The Draupadis call out in this way. Baba writes to them, buzz this knowledge to them. However, some women are such that they are called Supanka and Putana, female devils. The men buzz this knowledge to them and they become like insects. They cannot stay without vice. Many different types come to the master of the garden, don't even ask. Even some Kumaris become thorns. This is why Baba says, tell me about your horoscope, that is, the actions you have performed from birth. If you hide it and do not tell the Father, it will increase. You must not lie. Your attitude will continue to be spoilt. However, you will be saved by telling the Father. You should tell the truth, otherwise you will become severely diseased. The Father says, the faces of those who indulge in vice are ugly. To become impure means to make your face dirty. Sri Krishna is called the ugly and the beautiful one. They portray Sri Krishna with a dark blue complexion. They have even portrayed Rama and Narayan as bluish. They do not understand the meaning at all. You have a beautiful picture of Narayan with a fair complexion. That is your aim and objective. You don't want to become a dark blue than Narayan. Narayan is not like the one shown in the temple. By indulging in vice, their faces become ugly. It is souls that become ugly. You have to go from the Iron Age to the Golden Age. You have to become golden sparrows. Goddess Kali is remembered as Kali of Calcutta. They have shown such a fearsome form of her, don't even ask. The Father says, children, all of that belongs to the path of devotion. You have now received this knowledge. Acha. To the sweetest beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance and good morning from the Mother, the Father, Bapdada. The spiritual father says Namaste to the spiritual children, and the spiritual children say Namaste to the spiritual father. Essence for Dana. 1. Make effort to free your wings, liberate yourself from bondage, and become a clever gardener. Do the service of changing thorns into flowers. 2. Check yourself and see to what extent you have become a fragrant flower. Is your attitude pure? Do your eyes deceive you? Keep a chart of your behaviour and remove your defects. Blessing. May you be an easy and constant yogi, who is constantly powerful with the intoxication and faith of having a right to self-sovereignty. To be a self-sovereign means to have total control over all your physical senses, so that your physical senses do not deceive you even in your thoughts. If you sometimes have the slightest body consciousness, you then use force or anger. But those who are self-sovereigns, masters of themselves, are constantly egoless, and they constantly serve with humility. Therefore, be powerful with the intoxication and faith of being a master of yourself, a self-sovereign. You will then easily be an easy and constant yogi and become a conqueror of Maya and a conqueror of the world. Slogan. Be a lighthouse and remain busy in spreading light with your mind and intellect, and you will not be afraid of anything. Om Shanti.